Something big is happening in the workplace, and it's being led by the youngest generation. For decades, the path was pretty clear, right? You get a job, you work hard, you climb the corporate ladder. But what if that ladder is just broken? Let's dive into this idea of conscious unbossing. So get this. A recent survey found that more than half, 52%, of Gen Z professionals have absolutely no desire to become managers. That's not just a small trend, that's a huge shift in how people are thinking about their entire careers. So yeah, it really feels like we're at the end of the climb. That whole traditional path to success, it's just not as appealing anymore. The idea of climbing that ladder now feels less like a journey to success and more like, well, a trap. And you can see why. The old promise of the corporate ladder was all about prestige, stability, and what we all thought of as success. But the new reality for Gen Z? They look at it and see high stress, low reward, and a one-way ticket to burnout. They've watched older generations go through it, and frankly, they're not buying it. And the numbers really back this feeling up. A staggering 69% of Gen Z look at middle management jobs and just see a burden, not a promotion. They see a high-pressure, thankless role, and they're consciously choosing to walk the other way. So, you gotta ask, right? Why has management become so unattractive? Let's dig a little deeper into the real costs, both personal and professional, that are driving this big change in thinking. Well, a survey from Deloitte gives us some pretty big clues. Career decisions aren't made in a vacuum. For Gen Z, the number one concern, by far, is the cost of living. Then you've got mental health, unemployment, and safety right behind it. When you're already stressed about just making ends meet, why would you choose to take on the extra pressure of a management job? And this is where things get really tricky, especially for companies. You've got 89% of them saying middle managers are absolutely essential. But on the other side, 63% of their younger workers think those exact same jobs are overvalued. This creates a huge gap in the leadership pipeline, and it puts companies at serious risk of losing their best and brightest young talent. And it's not just about data. Listen to this quote. It's from a millennial, but it perfectly captures this new mindset. It's no longer about just getting a higher title. It's about always learning, always having new opportunities, and, this is the key part, staying passionate about what you actually do every day. Okay, so let's be super clear about something. This has nothing to do with being lazy or not being ambitious. Not at all. It's about a complete redefinition of what ambition even means in the first place. And that's where this idea comes in, conscious unbossing. It's this mindset of deliberately, thoughtfully choosing a career that's built around growth, freedom, and a sense of purpose, instead of just climbing a preset ladder of titles. Okay, that sounds great, but what does it actually look like? Well, smart companies are getting ahead of this. They're creating new ways to succeed. Things like dual career tracks, where you can become a senior expert without managing people, or project-based leadership, where you can lead an initiative without all the admin headaches. It's all about focusing on your skills and your impact. This quote from a workplace culture analyst just nails it. Gen Z isn't rejecting leadership. They're rejecting the old, tired model of it. They want to have influence because of their ideas, their creativity, and their results, not just because they have authority over someone else. All right, so let's look at the proof. Is this really happening out there in the wild? Let's check out how these new rules of work are actually playing out. Think about someone like a top-tier software developer or a principal data scientist. Their value, their success, comes from their deep expertise and the impact they have, not from how many people report to them. This is that new model of career growth in action. And it's all about finding that meaning in the work itself, in the craft. In fact, a whopping 72% of Gen Z professionals say they'd rather grow as individual contributors. For them, success is all about mastery, not management. This way of thinking fits perfectly with the creator economy. Gen Z grew up in a world where the most influential people aren't necessarily CEOs with fancy titles. They're creators who lead through the power of their ideas and their community. This chart from Deloitte is wow. It really shows the gap between what Gen Z wants from a manager and what they're actually getting. They're looking for guidance, inspiration, and someone who respects their work-life balance. But what do they get? Often, micromanagement. That 26-point gap in guidance and support, that says it all. And here's the thing, this isn't just about work. This shift we're seeing in the office is part of a much, much bigger story. It's a total reevaluation of what's actually important in life. I mean, look at this. Huge issues like climate change are literally shaping their biggest life decisions. It's affecting where they choose to live, the careers they pursue, and even whether or not they decide to have kids. When you're thinking on that scale, a high-stress management job can feel pretty small. So yeah, they're basically rewriting the entire rulebook for the American dream. They're questioning if a four-year degree is always worth the debt. They're choosing flexibility and renting over being tied down to a mortgage. They'd rather have amazing experiences than a garage full of stuff. Their career choices are just one piece of this much larger puzzle. So if we're throwing out the ladder, what do we replace it with? Well, think of it like this. The future isn't a ladder. It's a web. It's a dynamic, interconnected network of opportunities. You can move sideways, diagonally, up, down, building a rich portfolio of skills and experiences instead of just a linear resume. And that really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? It's a question for all of us, really. What does success actually mean to you? Is it a title? Is it a certain salary? Or is it having autonomy, finding your passion, and making a real impact? I want to leave you with this one thought because it just sums everything up so perfectly. For this generation, power is no longer the purpose. Purpose is the power. And honestly, that has the potential to change absolutely everything.